entrepreneurs, local and international business. The Be Smart Services hot seat goes behind the scenes to see what makes their business stand out from the crowd.
Good day, everyone. I'm Klarissa, and today we have a very special broadcast for you. And today we have a very special guest with us. His name is Björn Salsone. Yes, we are very excited to have him with us this afternoon. Björn, a very good afternoon to you, and welcome to our Be Smart Services Business Podcast interview.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Thanks, Björn. Björn, as we know, being an entrepreneur requires a clear vision, a lot of energy, and a lot of passion. You are a very talented, experienced, and passionate entrepreneur, and having made your mark in quite a number of industries. Can you tell our excited viewers a little bit more about yourself and where it is that you came from?
Absolutely. I always say that I always got to where I am today because of the kindness of strangers, the grace of God, and a ton of angels. And I think people have these perceptions of angels, they have these little things. And actually, angels are real people. There are people in your lives that do extraordinary things. And I come from a very humble beginning. We grew up poor. Life wasn't always easy. There were times that we had to ration at the end of the month. What were we going to eat and how were we going to eat? It wasn't I had someone say to me the other day, I always see you talking on social media with like a glass of bubbly and I believe it's real champagne. I'm like, because I can. I was able to as a child. Not that I wanted to drink alcohol as a kid, just a little disclaimer. But one of the things that I just realized, I grew up, I wasn't as privileged maybe as a lot of people, but I also realized that I was prepared to work hard. And it doesn't matter where you come from. I always say it doesn't matter the school that you went to. It all depends on what you want your future to look like. And that's a little bit about me from when I started. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. If you want to know more, I'm an open book. You can just ask questions.
Oh, thanks, Björn. No, that's great. That's very great to hear that. Now, Björn, I also believe that you belong to a great networking organization called BNI, an organization that I know that you're clearly very passionate about. Can you tell us a little bit more about BNI and what you've achieved in your time in BNI?
Absolutely. The reason I laugh is that I think it's important for me to give context about how I joined BNI, because otherwise it doesn't, what's the right word? You won't realize the value that I place in it and why it's so important to me. So I joined BNI as I call a pre-member. What does that mean? I was a host venue in Claremont in Cape Town for one of our chapters. And it's so funny how full circle it's come, and I'll share that within a few minutes. And when I joined the organization, I was what I didn't know, and someone quoted me saying, Björn, your problem in life sometimes is that you allow the egocentrical, self-centered gone, and you try and get away with it with a smile. And I remember thinking, that's quite a lot to swallow. But what happened was over time, just being part of BNI, I quickly realized the impact that small business has in community, but bigger the impact that it actually has on the greater community. And what happened was I joined BNI, I was a member for a couple of years, I then became a regional director and I moved to Johannesburg, and then I became an executive director, and all that means is you own the franchise or you don't, and I bought the first franchise then. And with that, it was very interesting. Within a year, COVID had hit, and so life all of a sudden changes. So our business went from a very much an in-person events to actually being online, which was quite a transition. I never forget, we were called into an emergency meeting the Sunday before South Africa went into lockdown. Or it was a Saturday. Yes, we're told on Saturday, Sunday, we've got an emergency meeting. We've got to know they're making changes and we've got to make changes immediately. So we kind of went, how do we do this online? Don't really know what that means. I didn't know, I knew of Zoom, I knew of Teams, but I wasn't using those platforms. If I was doing anything, I was on Facebook Live or Instagram Live, or at that stage, Twitter had a live platform, which they've changed. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like how are we going to run this? Not only did I have to learn Zoom properly, because I had to then train our members and who are ultimately our clients, but I quickly had to learn how to do more stuff. And with that, I realized there's a lot of opportunity. Because, you know, one of the things I always say in life is you've got two choices. You can either run from the change or embrace the change fully. Often when you run from it because you want to do what's comfortable, you will miss it on the gems that you can learn. And so I thought to myself, right, I'm going to embrace it. And I think everyone's going to be as gracious as they could be, or not. Some weren't. They said, you know, they expected you to know everything. And I was like, and I always say this, just be authentic. I was like, I don't know everything. I'm learning as you go along. So just be gracious. And I'll get it wrong. I'm so sorry. I'll correct it as best I can. And as that evolved, the following things happened. That was exciting. We then had our first global conference online as part of the organization. And I said to one of the executive directors at the time, I said, I would love to be involved in an online event. And so I did, and I started doing that. And so I quickly realized there was some great opportunity. And at the time, I was then made head of social media for BNI South Africa. And so I was just managing teams and all of that kind of thing and how we're going to communicate. I was part of the rebrand, and that was incredible. That was such a privilege to be part of a global rebrand. Like, I can only tell you, I mean, there were times because of the global time differences, because America, it's obviously the biggest lead, or we take a lot of material from, we would get up at silly hours for meetings, like silly hours. And just because for them, sometimes it was the end of day. So it was like early hours of the morning for us. And you'd arrive and you think, just open your eyes and smile. Just open your eyes. Like, you literally want you to fall asleep, right? And so what happened was you got known, and, you know, eventually there was a few changes in the organization, and I became head of branding for South Africa. And that was really exciting, kind of when the adventure really began. And in all of that, it's been a great transition. We've been privileged to buy the Cape Town South franchise, which is a very interesting franchise because it incorporates kind of on the City Bowl, kind of all the way around the Cape Argus route, as well as going into parts of the north, because you kind of end up in, if I remember correctly, it's Kryfontein, kind of with a map in. So it's a very interesting space with a lot of opportunity in terms of creating BNI and really helping community, because that's where it is. And so now I sit on the global body for events. I'm also head of branding for me in South Africa, and I'm, as a result thereof, I sit on the global marketing body. So we get to make really big decisions for countries across the globe, and I love it. It's an honor and a privilege. I will say you need to give up sleep sometimes. It's just the reality of it. You know, when you're working in different time zones, as much as, if you think about it practically, you work hard in the context of longer hours because you're dealing with different time zones. But when you see the difference you make in a community, you know, whether it's Singapore, or whether it's in Australia, or whether it's in America, or whether it's simply as Africa, I just count it a privilege that I get to be part of what I do. And sometimes I literally have to hit myself on the wrist and go, wake up. It's like, this is the live show. You know, this is the stuff I dreamed about growing up, and this is it. This is the live show. So yeah, that's me.
Wow, that's incredible, Björn. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. You guys literally made the best of a bad situation, and even though you guys had to really embrace this big change that you were facing, especially, you know, during the COVID period, you guys really made the best of that. I think our viewers would also agree to say that it's not everyone that can take such a big challenge and make the best out of it. So good job. Congratulations with that.
Thanks.
And Björn, the roles and responsibilities that you've mentioned, it must have taken you quite a couple of years to actually get experience and to actually get used to the idea. Like you said, there's a lot of times that you need to offer up sleep. There's a lot of new responsibilities. What journey did you take? When did you start getting into the branding and the marketing industry to build up enough experience to be able to handle all the work that you have currently?
Got it. So I think it's important just to go back a little bit. And I kind of took post-university. I was selected to be on the AidCon graduate recruitment program, and I was in that for a bit. And then I soon went into the private sector, and I was from a marketing merchandising space. And I quickly realized that I had a passion for marketing more than I had part of what I studied. But, you know, it's one thing something, it's a different thing to apply. And when I had been at university, I was working in the marketing department and I was doing some research. And I quickly realized I have a passion for research, but what I really like is the operational outflow where the marketing talks into sales. And what happened in the process was I did EdCon, as I mentioned. I then worked in the private sector. The company no longer exists, so I'm not mentioning it right now for no other reason. And I quickly realized that branding was really important. And I'll tell you where I realized this. I then started in one of the big banks, and I was working in their finance department. And I soon moved into the legal department, and there was a lot of emphasis placed on branding because and this is the nice thing, it wasn't just branding in the capacity of the company, it was branding as yourself because you were a representative. So even in our contracts, we're very tight to be conscious of what you wear, how you dress, your haircut, like down to things like please manage your nails, your breath, like very practical stuff. So I quickly had to make sure that to get if there's anything wrong with the teeth, you had to get it sorted. And I say that to people, when you become conscious, and I'm going to teach you a little trick, and this will always help you to remember. So I always said you need to have a catchphrase with your name. So mine's easy. I always say to people, I yearn to have a conversation with Björn. And for those who drink tea, I say, while I put on the urn. And for those who don't, while you get a glass of bubbly or whatever it is that you want. But, I realized as time evolved, I needed to have a phrase that people would remember me by, something that would be catchy, because my name is not always the easiest to remember. And in the time with learning about when I worked for the company and you had to brand yourself, I became extremely conscious of how I dressed, looking after my weight, looking after my health, because I was a part of a brand. And I have to tell you, it was at the time when Facebook had just started, or maybe 2 years in, I forget now. But I remember just, kind of being hesitant about branding. And, and at the time I then moved overseas. And this is when I realized the value of branding. So I quickly got onto Facebook at the time. And I was very privileged. I started working with very big international brands. So Louis Vuitton was one of our clients. And one of the things that I'll never forget, and this was incredible, I quickly worked with, when I do events and things, if this was ever going to be the time that I understood branding, it was at this moment. I looked at the guest list one day, kind of like just picked it up. And I remember thinking, and I said to the overall events manager, I just want to ask a few questions. She said, yes. I said, I'm looking at the guest list. Are these pseudonames? And she laughed. And the reason she laughed was on there went like this: Cindy Crawford, Claudia Schiffer, Naomi Campbell, David Copperfield. And these were all really big. And we are talking 10 years back, to be fair. They were really big international models. And all the models from Milan were there, and that was incredible. And that moment was an eclipse for me. I was like, and then I started, going into Facebook more and realizing that all of these people always looked a certain way in the public eye. So they would dress in a certain way. They put makeup on all the time. They always smelled really well. And they created a brand around them because they were always in the media, the tabloids, if you're overseas. And what I quickly realized was actually branding is not just a company. You are a brand as a person. And I quickly realized the importance of rocking up and showing up, even when you're tired and you think, oh, I just want to have an off day. You are in the public eye, you never know who's watching. And that moment was such an epiphany for me. And I quickly built up as different platforms of social media came about. I quickly realized you are a brand. And so, yes, we do post, I think, our best and positive, but I also believe in just being authentic and sometimes just say, I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bit of a rant. Anyway, I'm done. And that's okay. And over time, I've realized that we are all a brand. And to the listeners, you got to remember that you are a brand. Come what may, you are a brand. Doesn't matter if you work for a brand, you are a brand, period. And you know how you know that? It's very easy. When ask people in recruitment, they will go and stalk you on, they'll do professional research on social media. I hope everyone got the joke. And by default, they'll see who you are offline, or who you are online. Who are you not when you won't be in the office? Because they are trying to align their brand with you and see if you are a good match. You might be great on paper, but are you the person they'd want to employ so they have confidence and peace of mind that when you are not in the office, you are the brand that they expect you to be in terms of their brand collectively. So that kind of all, resulted in branding. And with time, I then opened up different businesses. I sold, some started, some flopped. The life of an entrepreneur. Life's not perfect. You try something new and you go, oh, that was a bad idea. Oopsie. But this is the thing. I go, don't stop trying. Don't stop doing. And I want to always say, when I say trying, I'm not meaning in the conceptualization. I'm talking about don't stop doing and it fails, because you're not then trying, you actually did. It might not have been a success, but what can you learn? And with time, I opened up different businesses and it got to a space, having had been a BNI member for 11 years, or been part of the organization, so to speak, for 11 years, this past August. One of the things that resulted was that I was able to buy the franchises because I learned how to build a business. One of the things they asked me in the interview was, have you built a business? I said, yes, I did. I built this, I built this. Oh, cool. So they wanted to know, could you build a business? And then they want to know, how are you going to do that? And a few other questions evolved. And with time, I always say proof is in the pudding. I did what I did. And obviously, I always say I never did in isolation. I always did it with a team. And it got to the space that because I've done what I've done, I was therefore eligible to do what I do. And so I say to people, you just got to be prepared to do your time. Just do your time and don't be scared to ask. Ask. It's a powerful tool. And the most people can say is no. Or guess what? The best they could say is, yes, please, we've been waiting for you. So that's kind of how I got from there to here.
Oh, wow, Björn, that is such an incredible story. And I love the advice that you gave. I love the way that you said everything. It's really a very inspiring story. And the thing that I love most about what you said was that you as yourself are also a brand. You also need to look after yourself.
Absolutely.
Yes, and the way that people look at you, it also shows them a lot about you, your company, and your brand. That is such a powerful message. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And Björn, this incredible journey that you've shared with us and everything that you've achieved so far, I can definitely see that you've made your mark in every industry that you've worked, in every task that you take. You definitely set in your goals and you're definitely out to go and just achieve everything that you set your mind to. How did you achieve your goals before the age of 40? I am correct when I say that you just turned 40, right?
I did. Just this past weekend. To be correct. I think, when I say I think, because things change. And a lot of people potentially get stuck in, I want X, and therefore, if X doesn't happen in the time that they thought X was going to happen, they feel like a failure. And I said to someone once, I said, the biggest thing in life is just to never give up. I've had low moments of depression. I've had low moments of thinking, this is it, my life's over. Or I wanted to commit suicide, in fact. And the one thing that I will say, which I cannot emphasize enough, is this. When you're setting your goals, be conscious of not what goal you set. Go big or go home. That's a standard phrase my friends know. But your friends that you surround yourself with, I cannot say this enough. You become like the average of the 5 people that you hang out with. So what I did was I made sure that I hung out with people that were bigger than me. I'm not meaning weight. I'm talking about mindset. I'm talking about financially. I'm talking about from achievements. I'm talking about people that have had tenacity. I asked people to be mentors in so many different areas of my life. Mentors in health, mentors in finance, mentors in marketing, mentors in sales, mentors in operations, and mentors in strategy. I was literally making sure that I surrounded myself with big people. Because what happens with anyone that's bigger than you, by default of success ahead of the journey, they are going to hold you accountable. And because their times their schedules are not big, but they're tight with lots of stuff that's packed into their day. When they give you a window, rock up and show up as you're supposed to. So I just made sure that I did whatever I had to do by when they said I would do it. Was it tough? Oh my gosh. I'd be sitting on a Saturday evening, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and my friends would be like, oh my gosh, we're out partying, where are you? And I'd be like, I'm busy with an assignment. They're like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, sorry, I've got a mentorship session on Monday morning and I'm taking Sunday off. So I need to sleep. Or I know that the mentor had an availability Saturday or Sunday evening at like 6 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And I still had work to do. So I was helping people and still doing what I got to do. And I was being mentored. So I had to make sure I rocked up and showed up in the way that I knew they expected me to deliver in order for me to keep my agreements. So was it tough? Totally. Klarissa, I was I'm crying. Oh my God. I just like want to eat a burger and feel sorry for myself. But I'd be like, you know what, that's great. And I'd pause and have a little tearful moment. Because I can tell you now, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock on a Sunday, early hours in the morning, when all you want to do is sleep and you are busy putting a presentation together. And you think, everyone is out partying. It's the 24th of December. And look at me, I'm like going to sit on Christmas morning and like have a mentorship session. Because for some of them, they just didn't celebrate Christmas. For them, it was a day. They're like, well, I'm free on the 25th at 9 o'clock in the morning. The first few times I was like, it's Christmas Day? And they're like, and? So what I quickly realized as it's kind of evolved is that you just need to be prepared to show up. And what that taught me, and they, by the way, some of them said to me afterwards, a bit of confession, they actually did celebrate Christmas. But their time zones are different because they were traveling. But what they wanted to teach me was how to be unreasonable, how to make unreasonable requests. So that in the process, you learn the following. I've done sales courses. I then did a sales course, I'll never forget, where I'll never forget this. It was the craziest thing ever. On a Saturday afternoon at like 3, it was the day South Africa was playing, I forget, it was the Springbok were playing. So that was a big match, right? We had to make sales calls to those people and interrupt their rugby game to try and convince them. I say try, because it was an opportunity. And I was surprised. Some people said, yes, they'll come to the event the next day. And I was like, great. So what that process taught me was you got to learn to be unreasonable. If you're unreasonable, you will give up the excuses about, I don't know if a person's ready. I don't know if this is the right time. I don't know if, and when I developed that mindset, I just got to a space that I realized, and I would say to people, realize the following. 1, you're going to interrupt their day. Done. Just know you're interrupting them. No matter what time you call, if you ask them if it's a good time to chat, they're probably going to tell you no. So just keep going. Otherwise, they would not have answered. If they thought it was an emergency, they will pause you and say, I'm sorry, I just need to interrupt you. I actually can't chat right now. Can we chat this time? So in that time, with setting goals, I made sure of the following. Learn to be unreasonable. Set big goals. Surround yourself with big people, with mentors, people that were in the area that you wanted to grow in, that were growing. Don't be scared to ask. The worst they can say is not right now. Because that's what no is, right? No is not right now. It's not a go away. The day they say go away, never bother me again. Okay, different conversation. And you're probably being a bit rude about it. But most people are just going to say no thanks, not, which means not right now. Otherwise, they'll never go away. And I honestly believe, because I was very clear about my vision, I was prepared to sacrifice, prepared to give up sleep. I was prepared to do the things that most people were not prepared to do. is the only reason I got here. And as I spoke about earlier, the grace of God, the kindness of strangers, and tons of angels. So yeah, that's how I got here.
Wow, that is so incredible, Björn. You've given us so much to think about. Just listening to you, like I mentioned before, it's really, really incredible. And like you showed us, every successful person out there, you begin with humble beginnings. It's a hard, but it's a rewarding process being an entrepreneur at the end of the day. And I'm so happy for you that for everything that you've achieved and for all the value that you add to everyone's lives who you come into contact with. I love everything you said about. I really love everything you said about the lifelong learning process, about the process that you follow, the people that you surround yourself with. All of these points are such insightful points and things that we as entrepreneurs really need to look at and really need to make a part of our everyday life. So thank you so much for that, Ian. It's really, like I say, I can't emphasize it enough. It's really a very, very inspirational story. Yeah, thank you so much. And Björn, if there's any of our viewers out there watching today, can you maybe share your contact details with us?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. If they go onto social media, they'll find me at Björn Salsone. So that's BJORN You'll find me on Twitter, we can connect there. We'll find me on Instagram, we can connect there. We'll find me on LinkedIn, we can connect there. You can find me on Facebook, we can connect there. I say that's kind of the easiest because of my traveling schedule. I'm not always checking emails. I have some other people to manage that. But I always check my social media because I always believe it's important that you share your journey of life experiences with people. And so that's really the easiest at Björn Salsone, which is BJORNSALSONE. Yeah, that's going to be the best way.
Great. Thank you so much, Björn. Now, are there any last thoughts that you want to leave with our viewers?
Absolutely. I would say that there's two things in life, and it's as simple as this. Be teachable. And what I mean by that is this. You know in your heart of hearts, when you've done something or could have done it better, and someone has bothered to take the time to say to you, hey, Björn, you did this. I don't know if that's the best thing for you as a brand. Don't get upset. Don't get offended. Offense is a choice. I don't believe anyone wakes up with going, oh, today I'm going to hand out offense to Klarissa, to Björn, to Anne, to Paul, whoever the name might be. You take offense, it's not given. So be teachable, number one. Number two, pay it forward. I always say that we all got to where we are in life because someone helped us. Whether it was a parent, whether it was a friend, whether it was a neighbor, or an aunt, nephew, a niece, there was someone, and sometimes it might be as simple as, and I say as simple as your gran and grandpa, who really communicate things to you. And I really say that to people. Just be very conscious of that you are teachable, keep your heart open to learning, and pay it forward and help others. I cannot emphasize that enough, because that is without a doubt the reason why I'm able to have this interview, and that's the way I live going forward, that I'm teachable and I pay it forward and help others. That's what I want to say.
Oh, great. I love that, Björn. I simply love that. Thank you so much. And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. We had such a great time with Björn this afternoon. Björn, thank you once again for your time. We really appreciate it. I'm Klarissa from Be Smart Services, and we'll see you again. Have a great day further. Thank you.
You're listening to the Be Smart Services podcast. Subscribe to Be Smart Services by Klarissa on YouTube for inspiring interviews with local and international business owners.